Lee Tae-min stepped off the transport shuttle and looked around at the strange new world. Viridian Prime was unlike anything he had ever seen. The sky was a pale green color, and two small suns hung overhead. Strange plants with silver leaves grew everywhere, and the air smelled like metal and flowers mixed together. He picked up his bag and walked toward the huge building in front of him. The Galactic Xenobiology Institute was the best school in the galaxy for studying alien life forms. Tae-min could not believe he had been chosen as an exchange student from Earth. Only one human student was picked each year, and this year it was him. The building was massive. It was made of some kind of crystal that changed colors as he walked by. Other students were walking around, but none of them looked human. Tae-min saw creatures that looked like walking crystals, others that looked like giant insects, and some that seemed to be made of water. This was going to be interesting. He found his way to the Advanced Predator Studies classroom. The room was huge, with seats arranged in circles around a central stage. Most of the seats were already filled with alien students. Tae-min looked around for an empty spot and sat down next to a student who looked like she was made of blue crystal. The crystal being turned to look at him. Her voice sounded like wind chimes when she spoke. "You must be the human exchange student. I am Velnara. I have never met a human before." "Nice to meet you." "I'm Tae-min," he replied, trying not to stare at her crystal face. "I've never met a Velthari before either." Velnara seemed surprised that he knew her species name. "You studied about us?" "A little bit. I wanted to learn about everyone before I came here." Tae-min looked around the room at all the different alien students. This is amazing. So many different species in one place. Before Velnara could answer, the professor walked in. Professor Krixtal was tall and thin, with purple skin and 4 arms. His eyes were large and yellow, and they moved around the room nervously. He seemed worried about something. "Welcome, students, to Advanced Predator Studies," Professor Krixtal said. His voice was shaky. "This semester, we will study the most dangerous creatures in the galaxy. But do not worry. We will only look at pictures and videos. We will never get close to real predators." Several students in the room made sounds that Tae-min guessed were relief. A student who looked like a giant ant raised one of his arms. "Professor, is it true that a human is in our class?" All eyes turned to Tae-min. He felt his face get warm, but tried to smile. Professor Krixtal's yellow eyes found him and grew even, larger. "Yes, Kiksara. This is Tae-min from Earth." The professor's voice got even more nervous. Earth is what we call a death world. It is a planet with many dangerous creatures. The room got very quiet. Tae-min could feel everyone staring at him. He did not understand why they all looked so scared. A blue amphibian student raised a webbed hand. "Professor, is it safe to have a Deathworlder in class? What if he becomes violent?" Tae-min was shocked. "I'm not violent," he said quickly. "I'm just here to learn, same as everyone else." Professor Krixtal held up his 4 hands. Now. Humans are known to be peaceful when they are not threatened. Tae-min is here as our guest. We must make him feel welcome." But Tae-min could see that many students still looked worried. He wondered what they had heard about humans that made them so afraid. The professor started his first lesson by showing holographic images of different predators from around the galaxy. The first image was of a creature that looked like a large cat with 2 heads. "This is a Drachmor from the Centauri system," Professor Krixtal explained. "It hunts in packs and can run very fast." It has killed many explorers who were not careful." The alien students gasped and moved back in their seats, even though it was just a picture. Tai Min looked at the image carefully. The creature did look dangerous, but it reminded him of the mountain lions back home in Korea. He had seen those in the wild before during camping trips with his father. The next image showed a creature that looked like a giant spider with metal legs. "The steel-web spider of Proxima b," the professor said, his voice full of fear. "Its bite can kill a grown Velthari in seconds. Its web is so strong that even our best tools cannot cut through it." Again, the students made sounds of terror. Velnara grabbed Taemin's arm. "How can you just sit there calmly?" she whispered. "These creatures are terrifying." Taemin looked at her confused. "They're just animals. They hunt because they need food, not because they're evil." Velnara stared at him like he had said something impossible. Around the room, other students had heard his comment and were whispering to each other. Professor Crickstall continued showing images. Each new predator made the alien students more scared. There was a flying creature with acid spit, a underground worm with thousands of teeth, and a shapeshifter that could look like anything. But as the professor showed each creature, Taemin found himself thinking about animals from Earth. The acid-spitting flyer reminded him of cobras that could spray venom. The underground worm was like a giant version of the earthworms in his mother's garden. Even the shapeshifter reminded him of octopi and chameleons. When the class ended, Professor Crickstall made an announcement that made everyone freeze. "Next week we will have a special demonstration. The Institute has arranged for us to observe a live Wrathcore from the Andorian system. It is one of the most dangerous predators known to exist." The reaction was immediate. Students jumped up from their seats. Some ran toward the door. Others started talking very fast in their alien languages. Velnara's crystal body actually changed from blue to white. "A live predator?" she whispered. "In the same building as us? Are they crazy?" Taemin watched all of this with interest. "What's a Wrathcore?" he asked. Everyone who heard his question stared at him. Kixara, the ant-like student, moved his head closer. "You do not know about Wrathcores? They are death machines. They are like giant wolves with metal fur and claws that can cut through steel. They have never been tamed. They kill anything that moves." "Oh," Taemin said. "So they're like wolves." "Like wolves?" Kixara's voice got very high. "Wolves are creatures from your death world. How can you compare a Wrathcore to something from your home planet so calmly?" Taemin realized he had said something wrong again. "I just meant that they sound like pack hunters. Most pack hunters have similar behaviors, even if they look different." But his explanation only made things worse. The students looked at him like he was insane. How could someone from a death world talk about deadly predators like they were normal animals? As students filed out of the classroom, still talking in scared voices about next week's demonstration, Taemin sat quietly thinking. He was starting to understand that his classmates came from worlds very different from Earth. Worlds where the animals were gentle and safe. Velnara waited for him by the door. "Taemin," she said softly, "are all humans like you? Do you really not fear these creatures?" Taemin thought about her question as they walked out together. "I guess we learn to understand them instead of just being afraid. On Earth, we have to live alongside dangerous animals. We learn how they think and behave." "That sounds impossible," Velnara said, but she sounded curious instead of scared. As they walked across the campus under the alien sky, Taemin wondered what next week would bring. He had a feeling that his calm reaction to the Predator demonstration was going to surprise his new classmates even more than his reaction today had. He just hoped he could show them that understanding was always better than fear. The week that followed Professor Krickstahl's announcement was unlike anything Taemin had ever experienced. Word about the live Wrathcore demonstration spread through the Galactic Xenobiology Institute like wildfire, and the reaction was immediate and intense. Taemin noticed the change as soon as he walked into the dining hall the next morning. Conversation stopped when he passed by tables of alien students. They whispered and pointed at him, but not in a friendly way. He heard words, like Deathworlder and dangerous, spoken in hushed tones. He sat down at his usual table with his breakfast. The food at the Institute was strange but tasty. Today he had chosen something that looked like purple rice with green vegetables. As he ate, he noticed that the tables around him were emptying out. Students kept looking at him nervously and then moving to sit somewhere else. Velnara approached his table carefully, as if she was not sure if she should come closer. "May I sit with you?" she asked. "Of course," Taemin said, happy to have some company. "Why is everyone acting so strange today?" Velnara sat down, but she kept more distance between them than usual. Her crystal body had a pale blue color that Taemin had learned meant she was worried. "Everyone is talking about next week's demonstration. They are scared." "Scared of the Wrathcore?" Taemin asked. "But we'll be watching from a safe distance, right?" "That is not what they are scared of," Velnara said quietly. She looked around to make sure no one else could hear. "They are scared of you." Taemin nearly choked on his food. "Me? Why would they be scared of me?" "Because you did not react to the Predator images like everyone else. You stayed calm. You compared them to animals from your home world." Velnara's voice got even quieter. "Some students think that if you are not afraid of those creatures, then you might be more dangerous than they are." This confused Taemin greatly. "But I'm not dangerous. I've never hurt anyone in my life." "I know that," Velnara said quickly. "But you have to understand. Most species in the galaxy evolved on safe worlds. We have never had to deal with real predators. The idea of someone who can stay calm around deadly creatures is frightening. To us." Over the next few days, things got worse. Several students stopped coming to Advanced Predator Studies class. Others requested to watch the live demonstration from remote locations. The Institute's communication system was flooded with messages from worried parents asking if their children would be safe. Taemin tried to focus on his studies. He spent hours in the library researching Wrathcores. The more he read, the more interested he became. They were pack hunters, similar to wolves, but larger and stronger. They had metallic-looking fur that could conduct electricity, and they used this ability to stun their prey. They were highly intelligent and had complex social structures. To Taemin, they sounded like fascinating creatures. But every article he read was written with fear and horror. The writers described them as monsters and killing machines. No one seemed interested in understanding their behavior or their role in their ecosystem. On Wednesday, Kixara approached him in the hallway. The insect-like student's multiple eyes were moving in all directions, a sign that he was very anxious. "Taemin," Kixara said, his voice shaking. "I need to ask you something. Are you planning to do anything dangerous during the demonstration?" "Like what?" Taemin asked. "Some students think you might try to get closer to the Wrathcore. They think that because you are from a death world, you might not understand how dangerous it is." Taemin sighed. "I'm not going to do anything stupid, Kixara. I just want to observe and learn, same as everyone else. But Kixara did not look convinced. Promise me you will stay in your seat with the rest of us. Promise you will not try to show off. Show off? The idea had never occurred to Tae-min. I'm not here to show off. I'm here to learn. That evening, Tae-min received a video message from his sister Na-young back on Earth. Her worried face appeared on his communication device. Tae-min, I just got your message about this predator demonstration, she said. Are you sure it's safe? I know you've always been calm around animals, but this is an alien creature. Maybe it's more dangerous than the animals we know. Tae-min smiled at his sister's concern. Don't worry, Na-young. They have safety measures in place. Besides, I've been reading about these creatures. They're just predators like the ones we have on Earth. Just be careful, Na-young said. I know you think you understand all animals, but maybe alien animals are different. Promise me you won't take any risks. After the call ended, Tae-min sat in his room thinking. Everyone was so worried about this demonstration. His classmates, his sister, even the professors seemed nervous. Maybe he was missing something important. By Friday, the atmosphere at the Institute had become tense. Commander Zeftos, the head of security, could be seen everywhere with his team. They were setting up additional force fields and emergency systems around the demonstration theater. Armed guards were posted at every entrance. During their last class before the demonstration, Professor Crixtel looked more nervous than ever. His 4 hands shook as he tried to operate the holographic display. Students, he said, his voice barely steady. Before next week's demonstration, I want to review safety protocols one more time. He showed them diagrams of the theater where the demonstration would take place. There were multiple levels of protective barriers between the audience and the creature. Emergency exits were marked in bright colors. Medical teams would be standing by. If there is any emergency, Professor Crixtal continued, you must follow the evacuation procedures exactly. Do not panic. Do not run in different directions. Follow your assigned safety leader to the nearest exit. A Morden student named Morgul raised his webbed hand. Professor, what if the creature escapes from its containment? Professor Crixtal's purple skin turned even more pale. That is impossible. The containment field is the strongest technology we have. No creature has ever escaped from one. But Tae-min could see that the professor did not sound completely sure of his own words. After class, several students formed study groups to practice the safety procedures. Morgul invited Tae-min to join his group. They met in one of the smaller classrooms to go over the evacuation plans. The most important thing, Morgul explained to the group, is to stay calm and move slowly. Sudden movements might provoke the creature if something goes wrong. Tae-min listened politely, but some of their safety ideas seemed strange to him. They were planning to hide under tables if the creature got loose. They wanted to make themselves as small as possible and avoid eye contact. Actually, Tae-min said carefully, avoiding eye contact might not be the best idea with a pack hunter. They might see that as weakness and become more aggressive. The other students stared at him. A crystalline student named Hexara shook her head. No, we must make ourselves invisible. Predators only attack what they can see. But if they can smell you and hear your heartbeat, Tae-min continued, hiding under a table won't help much. It might be better to— Stop, Morgul said loudly. We do not want to hear about Deathworld survival tactics. We are not Deathworlders. We follow proper civilized safety procedures. Tae-min fell silent. He realized that his suggestions were making everyone more nervous, not helping them feel safer. These students had never lived with predators. They did not understand that most predators were not evil monsters, but simply animals trying to survive. That weekend, Tae-min spent most of his time alone. Other students avoided him in the hallways and dining areas. He could hear them whispering about the dangerous human who was not afraid of the Wrathcore. On Sunday evening, he received another message from Na-young. This time she looked even more worried. Tae-min, I've been researching this Wrathcore creature online. The articles I found are terrifying. They say it has never been successfully tamed or trained. It kills everything it sees. Maybe you should skip this demonstration. Tell them you're sick or something. Tae-min looked at his sister's worried face on the screen. For the first time since arriving at the Institute, he began to wonder if everyone else might be right to be so afraid. Maybe he was being too confident. Maybe alien predators really were different from Earth animals. But deep down, he did not think so. Every predator he had studied from every world seemed to follow similar patterns. They hunted for food, they protected their territory, they cared for their young. These were not evil behaviors. They were natural behaviors. As he prepared for bed, Tae-min made a decision. He would attend the demonstration tomorrow, but he would be careful to act like the other students. He would stay in his seat and follow all the safety rules. He did not want to scare his classmates any more than he already had, but he could not shake the feeling that everyone was approaching this demonstration with the wrong attitude. Fear might be natural, but it was not always the best response to danger. Sometimes understanding was more important than fear. Tomorrow would prove which approach was better. The morning of the demonstration arrived with unusual activity throughout the Galactic Xenobiology Institute. Tae-min woke up to the sound of security vehicles moving outside his dormitory window. When he looked out, he saw teams of guards setting up additional barriers around the main building. At breakfast, the dining hall was quieter than usual. Many seats were empty because several students had chosen to watch the demonstration from their home planets through live video feeds. Those who remained ate quickly and spoke in whispers. Velnara sat down across from Tae-min with her meal. Her crystal body was flickering between blue and white, showing her nervous energy. "Are you ready for today?" she asked, though her voice suggested she was not ready at all. "As ready as I can be," Tae-min replied. He had spent the morning reviewing everything he had learned about Wrathcore behavior. "How are you feeling?" "Terrified," Velnara admitted. "I barely slept last night. I keep thinking about those claws and teeth we saw in the pictures." Kixara joined them, moving his insect-like body carefully onto the specially designed chair. His multiple eyes were moving in all directions, a clear sign of extreme anxiety. "I heard that High Chancellor Vex Mirren is personally overseeing the demonstration," Kixara said. "If the highest authority at the Institute feels the need to be there, this must be incredibly dangerous." "Maybe that's just normal procedure for demonstrations like this," Tae-min suggested, trying to calm his friends. "There have never been demonstrations like this before," Morgul said as he approached their table. The amphibian student's skin was a pale green color that Tae-min had learned meant fear in his species. "This is the first time in the Institute's history that a live apex predator will be brought onto campus." As they finished breakfast, announcements began playing throughout the building. Students were reminded of the safety procedures and told to report to the demonstration theater in designated groups. Medical teams were on standby. Emergency evacuation routes were clearly marked. The demonstration theater had been transformed since Tae-min last saw it. Multiple layers of energy barriers now surrounded the central stage where the Wrathcore would be displayed. The barriers glowed with a soft blue light that hummed quietly. Armed security guards stood at every entrance and exit. The seating area had been modified too. Each section was separated by additional barriers, and emergency teleportation pads had been installed. Every few rows, if something went wrong, students could be instantly transported to safety locations throughout the campus. Taimin took his assigned seat next to Velnara in the middle section. Around them, hundreds of alien students filled the theater, but the atmosphere was tense. Instead of the excited chatter usually heard before a special event, there were only quiet conversations and nervous movements. High Chancellor Vex Mirren entered through a side door, followed by a team of advisors and security personnel. The High Chancellor was a tall, elegant being with silver skin and multiple arms, representing one of the oldest and most respected species in the galaxy. Her presence made the event feel even more serious. Students and faculty, High Chancellor Vex Mirren announced, her voice carrying clearly through the theater's audio system. Today's demonstration represents a milestone in xenobiological education. For the first time, we will observe a living apex predator in a controlled environment. She gestured toward the central stage, where a large containment unit had been placed. The unit was made of transparent materials but was surrounded by energy fields that created a slight distortion in the air around it. The Wrath Core you will observe today was captured on Andorian 7th after it was injured in a territorial dispute with others of its kind. It has been treated for its injuries and will be returned to its natural habitat after this educational opportunity. Professor Crixtal took his position in a heavily protected booth above the stage. From there, he could monitor the creature and provide commentary while remaining completely safe. His four hands moved nervously over the control panels as he prepared for the demonstration. The containment system uses multiple layers of energy fields, he explained to the audience. Each layer is strong enough to contain the creature on its own. The probability of failure is less than 1 in a million. Despite these assurances, Taimin noticed that many students were sitting as far back in their seats as possible. Some had their hands ready on the emergency teleportation controls. The moment everyone had been waiting for arrived. A special transport vehicle approached the stage, carrying the Wrath Core in its containment unit. Through the transparent walls, Taimin got his first look at the living creature. The Wrath Core was magnificent. It was roughly the size of a large wolf, but its build was more muscular and powerful. Its fur did indeed have a metallic appearance, shifting between silver and dark gray as it moved. Bioluminescent markings along its sides pulsed with a steady rhythm that Taimin realized matched its heartbeat. The creature's head was larger than a wolf's, with intelligent yellow eyes that scanned its surroundings constantly. Its claws were visible as it paced within the containment unit, looking sharp and strong but not unusually large for a predator of its size. Around the theater, alien students gasped and moved back in their seats. Some made sounds of terror in their native languages. Velnara grabbed Taimin's arm tightly, her crystal body now completely white with fear. But to Taimin, the Wrath Core looked like what it was, a powerful predator, but still just an animal. Its movements showed intelligence and caution. Its eyes were alert, but not filled with bloodlust. It was investigating its new environment, trying to understand where it was and what was happening. Professor Crixtal began his commentary, pointing out various features of the creature. Notice the electrical conducting properties of its fur, which it uses to stun prey. Observe the powerful jaw structure designed for crushing bone. See how its eyes track movement even through the containment barriers. With each observation, the alien students became more frightened. But Tae-min found himself thinking different thoughts. He noticed how the Wrathcore's ears moved to track sounds, showing it was gathering information about its environment. He saw how its tail position indicated curiosity rather than aggression. Its pacing pattern suggested it was looking for a way out, but not in a panicked way. The Wrathcore has never been successfully domesticated, Professor Krikstal continued. It shows no capacity for forming bonds with other species. It views all non-Wrathcore life forms as either prey or threats. Tae-min frowned at this statement. In his research, he had found evidence that Wrathcores had complex social behaviors within their own species. If they could form bonds with their own kind, it seemed unlikely that they were simply mindless killing machines. The demonstration continued for several minutes. Professor Krikstal used various instruments to show the creature's vital signs and stress levels. The Wrathcore remained calm, continuing its methodical investigation of the containment unit. Then, without warning, disaster struck. A power fluctuation ran through the Institute's electrical system. The lights in the theater flickered. For just a moment, the energy barriers around the containment unit wavered and dimmed. It was only a few seconds, but it was enough. The Wrathcore, with predator instincts honed by millions of years of evolution, immediately recognized the weakness in its prison. With a powerful leap, it struck the barrier at exactly the moment when it was weakest. The containment field collapsed completely. The reaction in the theater was immediate and overwhelming. Alien students screamed in terror and jumped from their seats. The emergency alarm systems activated, filling the air with loud warning sounds. Security guards shouted orders and tried to organize an evacuation while also calling for backup. High Chancellor Vex Mirren was quickly surrounded by her security team and moved toward the nearest exit. Professor Krikstal's voice came over the speakers, high-pitched with panic. "Evacuate immediately! All students to emergency teleportation points!" The Wrathcore landed gracefully on the stage and looked around at the chaos it had created. Its ears were back due to the loud sounds, and its bioluminescent markings pulsed faster, showing increased stress from all the noise and movement. Students were pushing toward the exits and teleportation pads, creating dangerous crowds in there. Panic. Some were crying, others were calling for help in their native languages. The orderly evacuation procedures that had been practiced all week were forgotten in the face of real fear. Velnara was pulling on Tae-min's arm, trying to drag him toward the nearest teleportation pad. "We have to get out of here," she screamed, over the noise. "It's going to kill us all!" But Tae-min remained in his seat, watching the Wrathcore carefully. While everyone else saw a deadly predator ready to attack, he saw something different. The creature was not hunting. It was not looking for prey. It was confused and defensive, overwhelmed by the noise and chaos around it. Its body language was all wrong for a predator about to attack. Its head was low, its tail was tucked, and it was staying close to the broken containment unit rather than moving toward the fleeing students. These were not the behaviors of a confident hunter. These were the behaviors of an animal that felt threatened and was looking for an escape route. "Tae-min!" Velnara screamed. "What are you doing? We have to run!" The theater fell into a strange kind of silence. The evacuation alarms were still blaring, but everyone who remained had stopped moving to stare at the impossible sight before them. Tae-min, the human exchange student, was walking calmly toward a creature that had sent hundreds of advanced alien beings fleeing in terror. Commander Zeftos spoke urgently into his communication device. "All units hold fire! Repeat, hold fire! We have a civilian approaching the target!" From her position near the exit, Velnara watched in horror as her friend moved closer to certain death. She tried to call out to him, but her voice would not work. Her crystal body had turned completely transparent with shock. Kixara, who had been dragging Morgul toward a teleportation pad, stopped and stared. "He has lost his mind," the insect-like being whispered. "The fear has broken his brain." But those who looked closely at Taemin would have seen that he showed no signs of fear or madness. His movements were deliberate and controlled. His breathing was steady. His eyes never left the Wrath Core, but he was not staring at it in a challenging way. The Wrath Core had noticed him immediately. Its head came up, and its yellow eyes focused on this strange being who was moving toward it instead of away. Its bioluminescent markings pulsed faster, showing increased attention and stress. Taemin stopped at the edge of the stage, about 10 meters away from the creature. This was close enough to observe its behavior clearly, but far enough to avoid triggering an immediate defensive response. He could see every detail of the magnificent predator now. The Wrath Core was even more beautiful up close. Its metallic fur caught the theater lights and seemed to shimmer with inner energy. Its muscles moved under its skin as it shifted its weight, showing the power that made it such an effective hunter. But what struck Taemin most was the intelligence in its eyes. "What is he doing?" High Chancellor Vexmiran whispered to her security chief. She had stopped her own evacuation to watch this unprecedented event. "I don't know, Chancellor," Commander Zeftos replied. "But if we try to intervene now, we might startle the creature into attacking." Professor Krixtal's voice came shakily over the speakers. "The human appears to be observing the creature. This is completely against all safety protocols. The Wrath Core could attack at any moment." But the Wrath Core was not attacking. It was watching Taemin with the same intensity that he was watching it. The creature's ears were forward, showing curiosity rather than aggression. Its tail was no longer tucked, but held in a neutral position. Taemin began to notice the subtle signs of the creature's emotional state. The pulse rate of its bioluminescent markings was slowing down slightly. Its shoulders were beginning to relax. The constant scanning of its environment was focusing more on him and less on looking for escape routes or threats. Moving very slowly, Taemin sat down on the floor at the edge of the stage. This change in his height made him appear less threatening. It also showed the Wrath Core that he was not preparing to attack or flee. The creature took a step closer, its head tilted slightly to one side in what Taemin recognized as a curious expression. It was trying to understand what kind of being would approach it calmly instead of running away. "It's getting closer to him," someone whispered in the watching crowd. "Why isn't it attacking?" Taemin began to speak, keeping his voice low and calm. He was not speaking to communicate words that the creature could understand. Instead, he was using his tone of voice to convey peaceful intentions. "Easy there," he said softly. "I know you're confused and scared. This is a strange place for you, isn't it? All these loud sounds and bright lights." The Wrath Core's ears twitched at the sound of his voice. Its head tilted the other way, and it took another cautious step forward. It was now close enough that Taemin could hear its breathing. "You're not a monster," Taemin continued, still speaking in that same calm tone. "You're just an animal trying to understand what's happening, just like any other predator would be in this situation." From the safety of the theater exits, the alien observers watched in amazement as the interaction continued. Nothing in their education or experience had prepared them for what they were seeing. In their understanding, predators attacked or fled. They did not engage in peaceful communication with potential prey. The Wrath Core was now close enough to smell Tai Min clearly. It extended its neck slightly, taking in his scent. Its nostrils flared as it processed this new information. The human smelled different from the other beings in the theater. There was no fear scent, no stress hormones that would indicate he saw the Wrath Core as a threat. Tai Min slowly extended his hand, palm up, in a gesture of non-aggression. He kept his movements smooth and predictable, telegraphing his intentions clearly so the creature would not be surprised by sudden actions. "I'm not going to hurt you," he said, "and I don't think you want to hurt me either. You're just trying to find a way out of this strange situation." The Wrath Core looked at his extended hand with intense interest. It had never encountered a being that approached it this way. In its natural environment, other creatures either tried to flee or prepared to fight. This human was doing neither. Commander Zeftos was receiving constant updates from his security team through his earpiece. "Sir, the creature's stress indicators are decreasing," one of his technicians reported. "Its heart rate is slowing, and its electrical output is returning to normal levels." "That's impossible," Professor Crickstall said over the speakers. "Wrath Cores do not calm down in the presence of other species. They become more agitated." But the evidence was clear to everyone watching. The creature that had moments ago broken out of containment in a burst of desperate energy was now moving with the careful, controlled motions of a calm predator investigating something interesting. The Wrath Core extended its own head toward Tai Min's hand, staying just out of reach, but clearly interested in making closer contact. Its bioluminescent markings had settled into a slow, steady pulse that Tai Min interpreted as a relaxed state. "That's it," Tai Min said encouragingly. "You can smell that I'm not afraid of you, can't you? Where I come from, we have animals like you. Predators who hunt and protect their families and territories. I understand what you are." The creature made a soft sound, almost like a questioning growl. It was the first vocalization it had made since breaking free from containment. To the alien observers, it sounded terrifying. To Tai Min, it sounded like curiosity. He began to stand up slowly, telegraphing his movement clearly so the Wrath Core could see what he was doing. The creature watched but did not back away or prepare to attack. When Tai Min was fully upright again, they were facing each other at eye level. "You want to go home, don't you?" Tai Min said. "This place is too bright and loud and full of strange smells. You want to go back to your territory and your pack." As if responding to his words, the Wrath Core looked around the theater briefly before focusing on Tai Min again. Its ears went back slightly, but not in aggression, in what Tai Min recognized as a gesture of uncertainty. "I can't take you home," Tai Min said honestly. "But I can help you get back to your temporary home here, if you'll trust me." He began to move slowly along the edge of the stage, paralleling the creature's position, but not moving directly toward it. The Wrath Core turned to keep him in view, and after a moment's hesitation, it began to move as well. From the audience, someone gasped. "He's leading it back toward the containment area." Indeed, Tai Min was guiding the creature back toward the area where the broken containment unit stood. He was not using force or commands, but rather moving in a way that encouraged the Wrath Core to follow out of its own curiosity. "This is impossible," Professor Crickstall repeated. "No one has ever successfully directed a Wrath Core's movements without weapons or barriers. But Tai Min was not using weapons or barriers. He was using something far more powerful: understanding. He had read the creature's body language correctly from the beginning. He had recognized that it was not looking to hunt or attack, but simply trying to understand its situation and find safety. As they approached the containment area, emergency technicians were already working to repair the damaged energy barriers. Commander Zeftos ordered them to hold back until the situation was resolved, not wanting to risk startling the creature with sudden movements or sounds. The Wrath Corps seemed to recognize the containment area and showed some reluctance to approach it, but Taemin's calm presence and encouraging voice kept it moving forward. "I know you don't want to go back in there," he said, "but it's the safest place for you right now. Once the excitement dies down, they'll take you back to your home world where you belong." The creature stopped just outside the containment area and looked at Taemin. For a long moment, predator and human regarded each other in mutual respect. Then, to everyone's amazement, the Wrath Corps stepped voluntarily back into the containment unit. The theater erupted in shocked murmurs and gasps. In the space of just a few minutes, they had witnessed something that challenged everything they thought they knew about predator behavior and human capabilities. Taemin stepped back as technicians quickly worked to restore the containment barriers. The Wrath Corps settled into a resting position, its stress levels now completely normal according to the monitoring equipment, as Taemin turned to face the stunned audience. The silence in the demonstration theater was complete. Hundreds of alien beings stared at Taemin as he walked calmly back from the containment area where the Wrath Corps now rested peacefully. The emergency alarms had been shut off, but the tension in the air was thick enough to cut. High Chancellor Vex Mirren was the first to break the silence. She stepped forward from her position near the exit, her silver skin reflecting the theater lights as she moved. Her multiple arms gestured in what Taemin had learned was a sign of deep confusion among her species. "Student Taemin," she said, her voice carrying clearly through the theater's audio system. "What you have just done is unprecedented in the recorded history of the Galactic Institute. Please explain how this was possible." All eyes turned to Taemin. He looked around at the faces of his classmates and professors, seeing fear, amazement, and complete bewilderment. Velnara was still, transparent with shock, while Kixara's multiple eyes were all focused on him with laser intensity. "I watched its body language," Taemin said simply. "The Wrath Corps was not hunting or preparing to attack. It was confused and defensive because of all the noise and panic around it." Professor Krixtal emerged from his protective booth, his hands shaking as he descended to the main floor. "But Wrath Corps are apex predators. They do not show mercy or restraint. They kill everything they encounter." "No," Taemin said, shaking his head. "They kill what they need to kill for food or protection. This one was not hungry, and I did not threaten it. So it had no reason to attack me." Commander Zeftos approached, cautiously, his security team following behind him. "Are you saying that you can predict the behavior of unknown alien predators?" "Not predict exactly," Taemin replied thoughtfully. "But many predators across different worlds follow similar patterns. They have to, because successful hunting requires intelligence and restraint, not just aggression." High Chancellor Vex Mirren gestured for him to continue. "Elaborate on this, please. Your understanding could be valuable for future xenobiological studies." Taemin looked around at the eager faces waiting for his explanation. "On Earth, we live alongside many dangerous predators. Tigers, bears, sharks, venomous snakes, crocodiles. If humans just ran in panic every time we encountered one, our species would not have survived." "But Earth is a death world," Kixara interjected, his voice still shaking. "Your predators are supposed to be more dangerous than anywhere else in the galaxy." "Maybe they are," Taemin agreed. "But that means we had to learn how to understand them." We studied their behavior, their needs, their communication methods. We learned that most predators do not want to fight unless they have to. Velnara had slowly returned to her normal blue color and stepped forward. Are you saying that humans are not naturally brave? That you learn to control your fear? We feel fear, Taemin said. But we also learn that fear alone is not enough. Understanding is better than fear for staying alive. Professor Krikstal was recording everything on a portable device. Can you give us specific examples of how this understanding works? Taemin thought for a moment. When I approached the Wrath Core, I watched its ears. Forward ears usually mean curiosity or attention. Back ears mean fear or aggression. I watched its tail position, its shoulder tension, the pace of its breathing. He gestured toward the containment unit, where the creature was now resting calmly. Its body language told me it was not preparing to hunt or attack. It was trying to understand what was happening around it. This is remarkable, High Chancellor Vex Mirren said. You are describing a systematic approach to predator psychology that we have never considered. Commander Zeftos looked skeptical. But surely this was extremely dangerous. What if you had read the signals wrong? Then I would have backed away slowly and looked for another approach, Taemin replied. I was not being reckless. I was being observant. A new voice interrupted the discussion. Taemin, what in the universe were you thinking? Everyone turned to see a human woman running into the theater, followed by several Institute officials trying to keep up with her. She had black hair and was wearing traveling clothes, clearly having arrived in a hurry. Na Young, Taemin said in surprise. What are you doing here? His sister reached him and immediately began checking him for injuries. I got an emergency message saying you were in mortal danger from an escaped predator. I took the first transport I could find. She looked around at all the alien faces watching them. Are you hurt? Are you safe? I'm fine, Taemin assured her. There was no real danger. The situation was under control. Na Young stared at him. Under control? You approached a wild alien predator. How is that under control? The same way you would approach an injured wolf or an escaped tiger back home, Taemin explained. With caution, observation, and understanding. His sister looked at the containment unit where the Wrath Core was visible, then back at her brother. You treated an alien apex predator like a lost animal from Earth? Because that is what it was. Taemin said, a lost animal trying to find safety. The conversation was interrupted by Professor Krikstal, who was studying readings from his monitoring equipment. Chancellor, you need to see this. The Wrath Core's stress levels have been completely normal since the human student guided it back to containment. This contradicts everything in our research about this species. High Chancellor Vex Mirren examined the data herself. These readings suggest the creature is actually more relaxed now than it was during the original demonstration. That makes sense, Taemin said. Before, it was trapped and frustrated. Now it knows the containment area is temporary and that there are beings who understand its needs. Morgul, who had been silent throughout the discussion, finally spoke up. But how do we know that other humans could do what you did? Maybe you have some special ability. Na Young laughed, surprising everyone. Special ability? Taemin has been calm around dangerous animals since he was 5 years old. Our father used to take us hiking in areas with bears and wild boars. Taemin was always the one who spotted them first and knew whether they were dangerous or just minding their own business. This is a common human skill? Velnara asked, her crystal body flickering with interest. Not common, Na Young admitted, but not rare either. Many humans work with dangerous animals professionally. Zookeepers, wildlife researchers. Conservation specialists. We have people who swim with sharks, who study venomous snakes, who track tigers in the wild. The alien students were staring at her in disbelief. Commander Zeftos shook his head slowly. Your species voluntarily interacts with apex predators for scientific study? Of course, Na-Young said. How else would we learn about them? How else would we protect them? Protect them? Professor Crickstall asked. You protect your predators? Taemin nodded. Many Earth predators are endangered because their habitats are disappearing. Humans work very hard to save them and help their populations recover. You are telling us, High Chancellor Vex Mirren said slowly, that humans not only study dangerous predators, but also work to preserve and protect them. Yes, both siblings said together. The revelation sent murmurs of amazement through the gathered aliens. The idea that any species would choose to protect creatures that could kill them was completely foreign to their understanding. Professor Crickstall set down his recording device and looked at Taemin with new respect. Would you be willing to teach others what you know? Your approach to predator psychology could revolutionize xenobiological studies. I would like that, Taemin said. But I think the most important thing to teach is not to be afraid to observe and understand. Fear makes you miss important details about animal behavior. High Chancellor Vex Mirren made a decision that would change the course of Taemin's academic career. I am offering you a position as special consultant for predator studies. You would work with our faculty to develop new approaches to understanding dangerous species. Before Taemin could answer, Commander Zeftos added, We would also like you to train our security teams in predator psychology. Your methods could prevent future incidents. Na-Young looked proud of her brother, but also concerned. Will this be safe? I do not want you taking unnecessary risks to prove that humans are brave. This is not about bravery, Taemin said. This is about knowledge. The more we understand about predators, the safer everyone becomes, including the predators themselves. If to prove his point, the Wrath Corps in the containment unit lifted its head and looked directly at Taemin. For a moment, human and alien predator regarded each other with mutual respect. Then the creature settled back down to rest, its bioluminescent markings pulsing in a slow, peaceful rhythm. Velnera approached Taemin hesitantly. Could you teach me what you know? I want to understand how you see things differently than we do. I would be happy to, Taemin replied. The first lesson is simple. Every animal, no matter how dangerous it looks, is just trying to survive and take care of its family. Once you understand that, everything else starts to make sense. As word of the day's events spread throughout the Institute, Taemin found himself surrounded by curious students asking questions about Earth's predators and human survival techniques. For the first time since arriving at the xenobiology school, he felt like he truly belonged. The Galactic Institute had gained its first Deathworld specialist.